History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And when I watch Lost in Translation and Her, I can't help but feel their rhyming call and response of love, marriage, and divorce. Two films indelibly tied by the intertwined lives of their creators. Sofia Coppola, a wife desperately calling out into the ether, stamping her loneliness into film, and Spike Jonze, a husband who with years of hindsight can finally reach back in time and acknowledge the echo of that loneliness. This is the story of a marriage and divorce told a decade apart. At their core, these films are a profound study of loneliness. The loneliness within a relationship, the loneliness after a relationship, and the lengths we go to escape it. Lost in Translation's tagline, "Everyone wants to be found," encapsulates our yearning for human connection in the face of loneliness. It's a yearning that grows in isolation, stuck in a foreign city, alone even when surrounded. But paradoxically for Scarlett, it's a yearning that intensifies in the presence of those most familiar to her. The person who should feel like home now feels like a foreigner, and loneliness finds her in the one place it shouldn't. It's a loneliness mirrored by Bob, surrounded by people that know him for the movie star he used to be, but not for the person that he is, constantly unable to understand and be understood.
カメラ見て、カメラ目線で、ゆっくりと。ね、パッション。
My side.
パッションだよ。わかった？
And with intensity.
Is that everything? I mean, it seemed like he said quite a bit more than that.
It's no coincidence that this scene, which most literally exemplifies the title of the film, is closely followed by this one, which most metaphorically exemplifies it. The light, whimsical music as Scarlett's decorating the room cuts to silence when John enters. The convenience of familiarity has become a breeding ground for apathy. Like Bob and the director, Scarlett and John talk past each other, stuck in their own bubbles.
Think this is done?
Oh, I don't know.
Words are spoken, but their meaning is lost. Even when John scolds her for smoking, there's a weariness to the argument, one that's been had 100 times before, and neither of their hearts are in it. To be loved is to be seen, heard, understood. Without it, a deep malaise settles in. Scarlett and Bob's loneliness is that singular kind found only in a loveless marriage, where you're in the room or on the phone, yet you may as well be alone, talking but not conversing, listening but not understanding. When Scarlett and John bump into Kelly, Scarlett is centre frame, but unseen, then shoved unceremoniously to the side, present in the conversation, in her relationship, but invisible. The same goes for Bob.
No, hear this, Fred.
More an object than a person, centre frame, but unheard. Much like Bob's work serves to highlight his loneliness, so does Theo's. The first time you watch Her, there's this beautiful minute where you don't realise he's writing a letter for someone else. The sincerity of the words casts a warm glow over you, the same nostalgia-tinted lens through which Theo looks back on his marriage. But when reality is revealed, it arrives with a creeping unease. We realise the words are just words, only the faintest echoes of true emotion. It's his disconnect from those underlying emotions that causes this robotic apathy, as Theo himself puts it.
But they're just letters.
Like Scarlett and Bob, Theo's loneliness has extrinsic and intrinsic origins. Though he's not in a foreign country, he's in a world so interconnected that there's no longer space for new connections, surrounded by people, each alone in their own bubble. When he does reach out into the ether for some sort of connection, it's transactional, connecting, but only so far as it benefits the self, used and using others.
Maybe that would have filled this tiny little hole in my heart.
His intrinsic loneliness doesn't stem from an inability to connect. No, his is a loneliness by comparison. As much as John's distinct absence haunts Scarlett, Catherine's distinct presence, the memory of their happiness, haunts Theo. It's a loneliness that comes from a fear of the past. What could possibly measure up to the joy of his marriage, and how could he possibly open himself up to that pain again? It's the loneliness of hindsight, of regret, of a husband who looks back and realises what he feels now is just a fraction of what she felt then, of a husband who realises all the times he didn't see or hear her, who can't let go because all that's still left to be seen and heard will be lost if he signs on the dotted line.
I think I hid myself from her, left her alone in the relationship.
So he clings onto the memory of what they used to be, rehashing old arguments, rewriting history, helplessly hoping they'll remain friends and things will go back to how they used to be. In doing so, he shuts himself off from the present. Like his letters, he displays only a reflection of his true self. Scarlett is similarly unwilling to let go, clinging onto the hope that her marriage will get better. They each feel alone, but convince themselves it's a temporary state of being. Just wait until the apathy melts and the love returns, until the anger gives way to friendship. Just wait, because the loneliness isn't real if I don't let go. But how long can one endure loneliness before the need for human connection weighs too heavily? That's the question Sofia and Spike tackle, one searching for connection in the midst of a failing marriage, the other searching for connection in the wake of it. For Scarlett, that search drives her into the arms of Bob. For Theo, into the arms of Samantha. When they do find that connection, they come alive. When Scarlett and Bob converse for the first time, a good third into the film, it feels like they're letting out a sigh they've been holding onto for days. Instead of talking past each other, they converse. Silly, meaningless conversation, but it's the connection that matters. They see and hear each other. And for the first time, they laugh. When she's stuck talking to John and his friends in a conversation devoid of connection, Bob is her oasis on the horizon. Like Theo, they each have a tiny little hole in their heart, and they seek to fill it with the other. It's a connection rooted in escapism.
I'm trying to organize a prison break. I'm looking for, an accomplice.
Lonely nights staring out into nothingness become cozy nights in. Their conversations have the excitement of a new relationship, where everything is funny and interesting, and hours pass by in seconds. It's that feeling of home that they're missing in their marriages that they find in each other. Together, they navigate the city that was days earlier threatening to swallow them in its chaos. When we reach the karaoke scene, each tells the other about their deepest desire.
There's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding?
I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me.
Like the earlier scene, the music cuts abruptly to silence, but this silence is different. It's calm, peaceful, and it culminates in this, a shared cigarette, a shared moment of peace, love, and understanding. The extrinsic isolation is still there, but it takes on a new flavour. The act of being alone is the same, but her reaction to the world has changed. It's Scarlett's time with Bob that makes the world around her make sense again, and their ability to connect with others is bolstered by osmosis. The universality of their connection transcends language barriers, and even when those barriers arise, the sincerity of human connection prevails, and what was once lost in translation is now clear. There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen, and we're experiencing one such week for Scarlett and Bob. Where Lost in Translation shows us the importance of human connection, Her goes a step further, asking us what human connection even is. Can it be distilled into an AI? Communication is at the heart of human connection, and what is communication if not our way of wanting to be understood? So, when Samantha sighs, even though she doesn't need oxygen, doesn't have lungs or a mouth, does it matter when that sigh tells us all we need to know? Theo grapples with this contradiction, the connection that's growing in his heart weighed against the cold reality of Samantha's inorganic nature. They start off like a boss and his AI assistant, with Samantha clearing his inbox, checking his work. As she evolves and more of her humanity is revealed, the weight of that contradiction slowly lifts and allows love to seep through. By the time Theo opens up about Catherine, it feels like two people conversing. And it's in this moment that Samantha evolves from an accessory to his loneliness, to his solution, from something to someone. At the beginning of the film, Amy tells him that she misses him, not the sad, mopey him, but the old, fun him. And through his burgeoning relationship with Samantha, we see that sad, mopey self melt away. The extrinsic isolation takes on new life, as melancholic music and a monotone assistant gives way to Samantha's liveliness. Their conversations are that same mixture of meaningful meaninglessness and profound thoughts they'd never share with anybody else. The film's complexion changes, dreary greys giving way to the warm glow of love and joy that only existed in his nostalgic daydreams. He walks with greater purpose, and the letters that were just other people's letters take on a renewed meaning. The intrinsic source of his loneliness, the regrets, the doubts, personified by the ghost of Catherine, begins to make way for his new love, bestowing him the courage to finalise his divorce. But the past is hard to let go of, and new love has a tendency to reveal old scars. Underpinning these connections is each character's relationship with marriage. Lost in Translation is a marriage looking forward at divorce. Her is a divorce looking back at that same marriage. And it's with these new companions that Scarlett and Theo grapple with the same question. Does it get any easier?
I'm stuck. Does it get easier?
to which Bob responds,
And the more you know who you are and what you want, the less you let things upset you.
What about marriage? Does that get easier?
Bob's response is as wistful as it is sad. His wife has evolved, and her priorities have shifted to their children, and she doesn't need him anymore. He recalls happy memories like they're from a bygone era, never to return. But unlike Theo, he holds no hope of recreating that happiness. It's the response of a man whose letting go of the past results in present-day apathy. He's no longer stuck because he no longer cares. He's found his version of peace through detachment. Some may view that as a Zen-like enlightenment, but his life, aimless and gloomy, is evidence that it's merely a band-aid. It's through this connection with Bob that we glimpse Charlotte's core existential crisis. It's the fear of being stuck, unable to find purpose or meaning, the fear that she's forever a passenger, a tourist in her own life. But perhaps Bob's advice is a case of do what I say and not what I do. We never see if Charlotte follows his path in life and learns to become numb to the melancholy. But the subsequent dissolution of Sophia and Spike's marriage tells us all we need to know. Because for Sophia and Charlotte, that act of not letting things upset you can be seen as a license to let go of a failing marriage, to understand yourself and what you want, or rather, what you don't want, and to unstick yourself from it. In a way, Theo is the embodiment of Charlotte's fear. His isn't a bad life, just one so filled with regret and sadness that he's suspended in time. Does it get any easier? Theo asks the same question, but through a different lens. Does it get any easier? Does the pain of the breakup go away? Will I ever feel that happiness again? When Samantha asks what it's like being married, when the music and colour palette from the beach scene melds seamlessly into flashbacks of Theo and Catherine, we feel the weight of his predicament. Like Charlotte, this discussion of marriage reveals his core existential crisis. Like Charlotte, he's stuck, not in the present, but in the past. When he looks back, it's with a phantom certainty. The past, set in stone, is legible. It's the future that's murky and frightening. So why look forward when there seems to be so much more to life looking backwards? Yet, the past wasn't always the past. Those memories were once lived moments. And it's Samantha who pokes a hole in the bubble of nostalgia that traps him. She too has been rehashing an old argument when she realises
that I was simply remembering it as something that was wrong with me. The past is just a story we tell ourselves.
So, when Charlotte asks whether marriage gets any easier, and Samantha asks what it's like being married, when Bob and Theo answer with a wistful longing for a bygone era, we're left to wonder, is the past actually as good as they remember, or is it simply a story they're telling themselves to escape the present? And if the nostalgic bubble of the past has popped, what about the echo of that bubble enveloping our characters in the present? Each finds within their newfound connection something rejuvenating, but for Charlotte and Bob and Theo, are they doomed to just repeat the past? Are these new feelings, or are they old experiences and excitements resurfacing with someone new? Are they chasing the person, or the feeling? Are Charlotte and Bob in love? Are they soulmates doomed by circumstance? Or does their love only exist in a vacuum created by that circumstance? And is Bob really any different from John, a man whose creative career takes precedence over his family, who travels around, leaves his wife behind, gives other women more attention? His vapid affair with the hotel singer displaces the soulmate idea entirely for me. Bob, who cheats and reacts with only the slightest regret, and even then, only because of how it affects his relationship with Charlotte. This is her soulmate. And for Bob, fighting the malaise of a dull life and fading career, this beautiful young woman he meets in a foreign country, who looks up at him with a naivety reflective of their disparate life experience, this is his soulmate? Or is it far more likely that they're two people starved of attention in their own marriages who find something resembling love within each other? Viewed through this cynical lens, it would be easy to villainize Charlotte and Bob, yet we don't. Because the beauty of the film, the reason it touches so many people, is how it pulls our focus into the yearning for connection and what it represents. The mechanics of the connection, whether they're in love or if it's some deep platonic bond, kindred spirits or just two lonely people, is inconsequential. To be loved is to be seen, heard, understood, and for a few days in Tokyo, Charlotte and Bob, so starved of love, are reminded that it's possible. I think a part of us wants them to be soulmates, and perhaps they themselves relish the idea that they're lost souls in the wilderness finding their way to each other. But by showing us the crack in the perfection, Coppola reframes our relationship with the film. By not making Bob this perfect, infallible man, she refocuses our attention on Charlotte. Bob was there, the right person at the right time to remind her that she doesn't have to be stuck forever, an educator, but also a warning. And this isn't a rom-com or a fairy tale. He doesn't sweep her off her feet. The prison break isn't real. He can't save her. The only person that can do that is herself. Viewed through that same cynical lens, it would be easy to pity Theo. Is Samantha his soulmate, or is she just a cleverly engineered mesh of millions of personalities that perfectly suits him?
You're dating your computer?
No, she's not just a computer. She's her own person.
Her cynicism isn't unwarranted, but we've seen something deeper. We've seen Samantha evolve beyond those biases. We've seen her thoughts, fears, worries, jealousies.
Are these feelings even real?
Just like Lost in Translation, the mechanics of the connection don't matter as much as its existence, whatever its origin or form. In the same way we're shaped and stained by our world, making us uniquely suited to the ones who love us and who we love, Theo and Samantha's paths veer into each other. But this conversation, the intersection of the two films and the most illuminating scene when viewing them as a duet, does reveal a crack in the perfection, one much deeper than the question of Samantha's humanity. As Catherine signs the divorce papers, they're both reminded of the good times, and for a few moments, the happiness of those memories casts aside the awkwardness of the situation. But the scars don't take long to reveal themselves, and the most biting indictment is saved for last.
I've always wanted to have a wife without the challenges of actually dealing with anything real. I'm glad.
On a meta level, it's Spike granting the final word to his ex-wife, a show of understanding that can only be written with reflection and maturation. Perhaps it's why Lost in Translation doesn't contain a dramatic confrontation between Charlotte and John. Lost in Translation is a feeling in search of an explanation. In this scene, that explanation is given life. On a narrative level, it shows that despite the excitement and joy of new love, there's still a part of Theo that only Catherine can see. That part of him that withdraws when the relationship gets tough. The part of him that left her alone. The crack in the perfection. And these past mistakes manifest in the very next scene. Samantha, excited to tell Theo about her new book club, but he's distracted, still reeling from the finalisation of his divorce, bothered by Catherine's criticisms. So he withdraws, and like Charlotte and John, they talk past each other. But instead of pushing Theo on what's wrong, Samantha gives him an out that was never afforded him in marriage.
You sound distracted, so we'll talk later?
Avoiding the challenges of dealing with anything real. And it's the first time in the film we hear the hang-up tone. The crack in the perfection, leading to their biggest argument, where Theo lashes out and casts doubts on the authenticity of their relationship. But just like Lost in Translation, the crack in the perfection is a necessary one, reframing the focus back to Theo's internal struggles. By ending the honeymoon phase and peeling away the perfection, Sofia and Spike reveal that Bob and Samantha aren't the solution to the loneliness that we first thought they were. The loneliness was only ever a symptom, one that could be suppressed by the freshness of a new bond, but which can't be cured without addressing the underlying question of the self. Where these films diverge is in their conclusion to that question of the self, and each is a product of its time. Lost in Translation is left open-ended. At the time of its release, Sofia and Spike's marriage hadn't reached a definitive conclusion, and the ambiguity of the film's ending reflects Sofia's internal struggle. What choice does she make? The film concludes with all the uncertainty of someone at a crossroads, and we're left to speculate whether Charlotte will unstick herself. It's a film made in the present, with all the frustrations of not knowing where your life is going, or if you're even asking the right questions. A film that doesn't resolve each character's arc because their problems are very much unresolved. The beauty of these films is how they reflect what their creators crave most. Sofia, stuck in her own failing marriage, wants her story to be centre frame. So, in lieu of a definitive conclusion, she gives us a definitive feeling. Bob chasing after Charlotte, spotting her like an oasis, centre frame, seen, heard, understood, loved. There's much speculation about what he whispers, but to me, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he's speaking her language. I mentioned the two songs that Charlotte and Bob sing in their famous karaoke scene, but there's a third song, sung by Bob, that encapsulates this ending and the joy of true connection. Even though their relationship isn't perfect, even if it's as transient as fallen leaves in the night, perhaps there's nothing more than this. With the benefit of time, Spike Jonze provides us with the definitive conclusion in her. But first, he gives us his own definitive feeling. The crack in the perfection is what defines Theo and Samantha's love. Because no love, no person is perfect. Because love is a feeling, but it's also a choice, one that can only be made if there's the chance of losing it. And so, while Catherine's criticisms of Theo might be correct, it doesn't always have to be that way. In the aftermath of his big falling out with Samantha, Theo watches Amy talk to her OS, and he realizes something. If the love he feels is real to him, who cares what other people think? Like Amy said, anyone who falls in love is a freak. It's this realization that prompts him to reconcile with Samantha. And it's Samantha, whose evolution he's witnessed and helped shape, that forges the path forward for him.
I'm not gonna try to be anything other than who I am anymore, and...
How do you grow without growing apart? In the case of Samantha, there isn't an answer, but perhaps it's not the right question. Although she outgrows Theo, there's this beautiful span of time where their paths intersect, where Theo isn't bogged down by the past, and where Samantha is yet to escape into the infinite future, where they can truly be in love. Each moment feels like stolen time, and when the relationship ends, it does so with deep sadness, but without regret. After Samantha leaves, his mind turns once again to Catherine, and he decides to write her a letter, one from the heart, one that can only come from him, filled with a finality granted only with hindsight, where he can look back at the love and hurt and see it for what it is, the past. Always there, always a part of him, but it no longer haunts him, and the tiny little hole in his heart, that gaping absence he felt, is now a piece of her, forever with him.
I just wanted you to know that there'll be a piece of you and me always.
And with that, he can finally let go and provide us with a conclusion to the immortalized tale of Sofia and Spike.